Hi, I'm Gina, and I'm going to be presenting Chapter 16, which is Public Speaking, Presenting the Message. Okay, so first, for speaking with confidence, a tip is to always be prepared. So if you're in control of your presentation, then you're obviously going to be comfortable giving the presentation. Embracing your uniqueness and imperfections. So that's basically don't worry about what other people think of you when you're presenting and just do your own thing. Don't apologize. So you want your audience to respect you and not pity you. And understand the role of the vocal and physical elements while presenting in your speech. So that's like speaking out loud to the audience instead of reading like directly from your presentation slide. Okay, so the next slide is about the aspects of oral and physical speech in the presentation. So the vocal delivery. So first you have the vocal, the variety. So that's like speaking fast, speaking slow, and you want to change the way you speak to match the tone or the mood of what you're trying to convey. Also try to stay away from speaking in monotone. And as a speaker, you want to be easily understood, attention grabbing, and make sure you're giving clarity through your speech when you're presenting to your audience. And then also pronunciation. So sloppy and incorrect articulation for words can confuse the audience, such as saying air for error can confuse the audience. Also being unaware of your incorrect pronunciation, vowel distortion, pronunciation outside the normal pattern. For example, saying like ax for asked would be unclear for your audience to understand. And if your audience does not speak American English, that would cause an issue in them understanding the material. Next we have physical elements, so that's like gestures, so hands, body movement, and facial expressions. If you're presenting something that's emotional, you should be more dynamic in the way your hands are moving or your body is moving. And the gestures should be natural, so they shouldn't be forced, and that will be more comfortable for your audience. Also, eye contact. You should look at your audience in the eyes directly, not like looking over their heads, to show that you're really trying to convey the messages to them. Also, using a script or an outline. So you want to try to find a way to keep your audience engaged while reading from your notes or reading from the PowerPoint, so you're not distracted and they don't lose you and you don't lose them. Okay, so for public speaking, anxiety, and stage fright, which is a common thing that a lot of people have, so there's two parts to it, the physiological and the emotional. So physiological would be the person perceiving how he or she is threatened. So for example, before you start presenting something, your heart may be racing or you may be nervous. And then there's the emotional side, which is the fear of making a fool of yourself. So everyone gets nervous. They assume the worst, they feel like they're going to mess up, make a fool of themselves in front of the class. So, way that we can conquer these fears, we need to realize that presenting is not the most stressful thing we can do. So, if anyone can present and conquer their fear, you can too. Also, you don't have to be brilliant, witty, or perfect to succeed. As long as you give the audience something of value, that's what's really important for the presentation. When you speak in public, nothing that bad can happen. So we typically draw and think of the worst, but nothing that bad can happen when you're presenting. If you mess up a word or mess up a line, it's really not the end of the world. Also, you don't have to control behavior of your audience. So say you were perceiving your audience to laugh at something and they didn't necessarily laugh, you can't get all upset about that. You just move on and continue with your speech. And your audience wants you to succeed. So obviously, if you're giving your presentation in class and everyone else is too, they're going to understand where you're coming from and know that you may be nervous because they are also before they give their speech. Also, ways to avoid stress during public speaking is do not avoid the experience of presenting. So the more you practice speaking, the better you'll be at it. Just like anything, practice makes perfect. You have to accept that you will be somewhat nervous when you're presenting. And You can use relaxation techniques. So for example, taking deep breaths or whatever helps you to relax. Also, recognizing the anxiety you may have, preparing for the presentation the best you can, and practice visualization. So if you expect that you're going to do poorly on a presentation, then you probably will. But if you expect that you know what you're doing and you're prepared, then you probably will do well. And try thinking about something else before you're giving the speech that can lower your stress. So if you can think of something besides the speech that will help you relax and be prepared, that's what you should do. Now when you're presenting with visuals in your speech, you want to use the visual as an aid for your presentation. You don't want it to take over your whole presentation. You want to make sure you're still presenting an oral presentation, but just using your visual as an aid to assist you. You want to display the visual only when necessary. So don't use it through the whole presentation if you don't need it through the whole presentation. Speak to the listeners, not to the visual. So I shouldn't be talking to my PowerPoint, I should be talking to you. And know your visual well enough to not have to refer to it all the time. And also you can use like a pointer or something to refer to an image on your visual for your audience to see. And using, if you're using YouTube or like some sort of site during your presentation, make sure you give a transition. So before you open the YouTube video, you want to say why you're showing this, why it's relevant. And after you're done showing the YouTube video, you want to sort of explain what it meant. Don't just show it and then do nothing about it afterward. And also to adjust the volume once the video starts. So make sure you're prepared for when the video starts. You don't want it too loud or too soft to impair your audience's hearing. Also avoid talking over the video. So if you have something to say during the video, you should pause it, say what you need to say, and then continue playing the video after. Also, when you're using presentation graphics, such as a PowerPoint or a Prezi, something like that, you should make sure that you've practiced it thoroughly. Be patient with it. So obviously there can be some technical difficulties when you're setting up your presentation, so you want to make sure you're staying patient. Maintaining control, which would be the same thing. Being prepared for the worst. So make sure you've emailed your PowerPoint to many like different accounts. Bring it on a hard drive, something like that, so you have backups and ways to work around it. And don't talk to the screen once again. So now, when you're rehearsing the speech, the key to effective speech performance is being prepared and practice. So ways you can prepare for your speech are having someone like videotape the speech so you can watch yourself present and fix what needs to be changed, and that will help you in your actual speech. Also, you can see someone, like for example on campus at the Oral Communication Center, you can see someone who
Wait, it just stopped. Wonder if there's like a...
Can you just continue and then...
Yeah, I think it will continue.
We'll just